breaking stories about the future of the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar. A government press conference has been called for 12 noon in government buildings. Good morning, Fionnán. What can we expect?
Leo Varadkar to stand down as Taoiseach and Fine Gael leader. He will stay on in both capacities up until a new Fine Gael leader is elected. The party has to go through its internal parliamentary party and internal membership processes in order to do that. But yeah, Leo Varadkar will be gone, and it's happening today. And obviously, Fine Gael will be looking to get that process sorted as quickly as possible, because they have a local and European elections coming up in 10 weeks' time, 10 weeks' time. So quite a political bombshell.
Voluntary, or was he pushed?
We're not hearing anything about him being pushed. There was a lot of disquiet in the party last week following the defeat comprehensively of the referenda, and there was definitely a lot of chatter going on that occasion. He was off, and everybody else was off for all the Paddy's Day events around the world. So that died off. They were back this week, then Easter was kicking in and so on and so forth. So it looked like he got away with it. Then there was a resignation yesterday, retirement of Kieran Cannon. So it is out of the blue here, unless we hear later on the day that men in grey suits approached him and said, listen, this ain't working out. Then we'll see how that plays out. But there wasn't an indication of something happening. And even this morning, we were hearing of a bombshell earthquake about to go off in government. But even at that, it wasn't abundantly clear what exactly that was. But the focus was very definitely centering on the Fine Gael end of the coalition. So there was talk then general election was being ruled out. Then a nomination for the European Commissioner has been ruled out. Then there was some talk, was Leo gone off to another job in Brussels? That's ruled out. And now finally it was down to, right, well, which of them is going? Pascal, Leo, or Simon Coveney? And it's turned out to be Leo who's the one who's standing down. There is preparations underway at government buildings now at the moment for a budget style announcement, so it'll be the big bells and whistles that are happening there. But it is, I suppose, Fine Gael have been fairly flailing about since the last general election, despite leading the country through COVID-19, becoming tarnished under Micheál Martin and then retaking the Taoiseach's office. Fine Gael's fortunes haven't been doing particularly well in opinion polls, and people were looking at the next general election where there's now 10 TDs standing down. They were looking at definitely a position where winning three MEPs was the height of their ambitions out of the 5 that they have at the moment, and probably looking at a heavy drubbing in the local elections. So it does appear that the party really hasn't recovered from the substantial defeat instigated on them by the voters at the last general election. And Leo Varadkar's, his personal fortunes haven't really responded since then, either in his standing as Taoiseach, which peaked quite dramatically during COVID-19 when people saw leadership. But since he's come back as Taoiseach, there hasn't been that kind of response. So there was a sense very much that the party was kind of adrift at the moment, uncertain about where exactly they were going into the future, not really getting a handle on big issues like immigration or housing. Okay. Meanwhile, the economy is flying.
Okay, I'm listening to all that and fine, but none of that is new. About 18 months ago, Simon Harris was on manoeuvres and there was maybe a talk of a push against him. But I think everybody, including Simon Harris, had all kind of chilled out. Look, we've been in government, they'd say, since 2011, 13 years. The Tories are in the same problem. It's going to be very hard to turn this around. But there was a thing of sticking it out. The captain to leave the bridge at this point in time, like if you take, he's appointed the people in headquarters, he's appointed Simon Coveney to be Director of Elections for Europe, Simon Harris for the preparations for the Director of Election of the general election. all this is underway, and there was even talk of an early election. You know, Fianna Fáil are lower in the polls. Like, it's not as if they've suddenly gone down to 14%. They've been relatively steady around the 20% mark. I mean, my first reaction is, A, it's all a tad dramatic. And, you know, I've said he's been auditioning for his next role. He's bored with politics in Ireland now, and that's grand. But, I mean, it either is because I don't think this has been enforced by his colleagues, that it's either very indulgent or very selfish, or something has emerged that has made his position untenable.
Is there a question at the end of that line of thought there, Ivan? Or what
Absolutely, there's a double set of questions there.
What's the question?
Well, the question is there not something that has forced his hand here?
Yeah, there might well be, that we'll learn about in the coming days. There was very definitely a level of dissatisfaction within the party about the manner in which the referendum was handled, and the comprehensive defeat there. Ultimately, if you are the Taoiseach and the leader of the party leading the coalition, then the buck has to stop with you. But having said that, Taoiseach have lost referenda before, and it hasn't impacted upon them. On this occasion, you'd have to say what people were pointing to was a broad disconnect between this government and where people are at in terms of their thinking. So that might be the direction of travel in which the Taoiseach has gone down here. As you say, there may well have been senior people in the party who were saying, look, this ain't working out. Do you want to go now, or do you want to go at the time after a drubbing in the local and European elections, which won't look good, which then has the party flailing about? He was showing a lot of uncertainty about when there should be a general election. Previously, he was talking about going in the autumn. Then he was kind of saying he didn't really know. Then he was back to looking maybe at the October period. So he was fairly uncertain in that one, where Micheál Martin was just saying, no, we're going to last the full 5 years, and you stick with that answer until the situation changes.
All right.
Leo seemed to be of the view that it was better for him to be kind of adding to the speculation rather than dulling it down.
All right. Congratulations, first of all, on breaking the story, because no one else had this story. I got phone calls that I should be staying on air and staying in Dublin, but they were very cryptic. But I have to say, Fionn Sheahan broke this story. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure your phone is hopping. We'll be back very shortly.